Welcome to Impact Duty. I'm your host, Manisha Dadlani Kripalani, bringing you empowering stories of friends and people I admire. Their voices have given me joy and the momentum to share their stories with you.
Shipra Dawar is an influential force in the digital health, climate, and AI domains and champions technology for societal benefit. She is the founder of iWill and ePsyClinic and leads digital and AI health startups focusing on mental well-being and reproductive health.
Shipra Dawar, welcome to Impact Duty. How are you?
I'm doing so good, and it's so lovely to be here at this wonderful show hosted by you. Let me tell you, I've watched so many of your episodes, and they leave me inspired. So it's all my pleasure to be here today and to have this interaction with you on this very, very relevant platform that you're creating that I'm sure is inspiring so many people and helping, us learn too.
Shipra, thank you for that. You just absolutely made my day and probably my week. And Shipra, you have so many accolades and achievements under your belt. The adjectives I can use for you are founder, CEO, innovator, advocate, visionary, woman champion. There's so many adjectives, but I'm going to ask you to go ahead and tell me a little bit about yourself for those who don't know you in your own words.
Thank you so much. Those adjectives were heavy. I am Shipra Dawar, and before I really talk about the work that I do, basically at a human level, I'm a dreamer, and I've been that. I dream about solving crisis that humanity faces or opportunities that we can create for the whole of humanity. And then I try and pursue them. I learn through the journey, I fall through the journey, I dream and I live that dream. And that's how I am going with my life. So that's the only way really to describe who I am personally. But professionally, yes, I am the founder of iWill and ePsyClinic. These are leading digital AI health startups from India, and they're focused on mental health and reproductive and agency health. And I've also worked on climate sustainability, again, through the use of technology. So that's about the work that I do. I'm super passionate about technology. I really believe in its power for the good, responsible use of technology. And yes, I have a very spiritual side to me as well. I think that keeps all of this together. So you could say I'm SSS, I'm Shipra, who tries to use science in ways that connects the whole of humanity. And I am that way connected with spirituality. So it's SSS, Shipra Science and Spirituality.
Oh, beautiful, Shipra. And as you said, there are two topics that are so very, very relevant, and which is the reason I reached out to you. Mental health and women in tech and science. Okay, two very, very relevant topics. Where did your journey begin? Take us back to where, yes.
Yeah. Let me start with mental health. So, like I said, I am a dreamer, but then also I dream for what can be solved for the humanity. This started with a personal tryst with depression. And I have been very open about talking about it because mental health still remains to be a subject of hush hush, which it shouldn't be. It's like any other issue. I was a student in Australian National University. I was very young and I was away from my family for the first time. I was a scholar's student, so I had, all of this burden on my shoulder that I have to perform and excel. But when I went to a new country, the culture was so different, and it was a bit of a culture shock. And I went into a shell. While people were very, very warm and lovely, I wasn't ready to receive that within me because I was going through something which I couldn't understand back then. Now, what happened when earlier when I was my first day of the classroom was I was very chatty and I was, like at the top of my game. And the professor who was there, he saw my performance decline, my participation decline, and it was he actually. He called me to, his room and said that, "Are you okay? Is everything okay?" I couldn't say much, and he said that you should see a counselor.
Uh-huh.
I said to him, I'm sane. And I always quote that, that's the stigma we all carry within us. He said something which was so profound. He said, Shipra, only sane people recognize that there's a problem and fix it. So seeing a counselor is the right thing to do. And
Right.
that phrase stuck with me. I took help. I became one of the most high performing students of all times in my university. I excelled and was happy and enjoyed Australia, made so many friends, just had a time of my life. I still look back at it with so much of happiness. And then I
Uh-huh.
joined Boston Consulting Group, which is a dream for anyone who has, studied business and technology and all of these fields. And then I came back
Yes.
to India because my parents, I am the primary caregiver and they're the primary caregiver to me. So I wanted to be back in my country. And I saw depression being, and anxiety being, and mental health being such huge problems. And then I started looking at the field more deeply. And I saw that we just have 0.07% psychologists per 100K population. That's one
Wow.
of the lowest ratios in the world, and they're all concentrated in cities. And the problems
Mm-hmm.
are spread all over. We have 300 million people in India, that's almost the population of US, who need
Mm-hmm.
mental health support and don't have
Wow.
it. And that's when I thought my education, my passion can be combined with something that I personally have lived through, gotten
Mm-hmm.
better, and championed, through and my way through. And that became the driver of starting a mental health organization in tech. So
Wow.
yes, that's how the journey started.
Excellent. And what time frame are we looking at? So how many years ago was this?
Oh, so I was in Australia in 2009 to 12. Then I came back and I started working at BCG. I worked there for a good couple of time, and then I started this 2015 as a community.
Wow.
It was called ePsyClinic, and there were just text counseling at the time with counselors, and we built a good 500K plus community. And yeah, we were the whole idea was let's talk about mental health. And I was the first one to talk about it. I was like, I am picture who can be depressed. I'm that person.
Thank you, Shipra, because you are so right. Because even though we're looking at 2015 being less than a decade ago, it's
Yeah,
only it's only COVID and post-COVID that we've really started bringing the topic into the forefront, at least in terms of India, at least in terms of the
yes,
subcontinent. Prior to
yes,
that, as you said, there's a lot of stigma, there's a lot of taboos associated with it. And the mental health spectrum is rather large and wide. So I'm going to ask you to take us a little deeper. We're telling us how you actually built up ePsych and what you do right now, how it's actually built up to actually extend on to more platforms, okay,
yes,
and how you've actually evolved to cater to the huge immense population that actually needs help on this spectrum, and how you identify
yes,
and how you use technology. So I'm going to ask
yes.
you several questions and how to go a little deeper in what you do. Yes.
Absolutely love that. So we started, as I said, ePsyClinic with being just a community and a text chat platform with counselors. So we very carefully recruited the right kind of therapists because this was first platform actually for mental health that was organized in India. And our huge part of it was building a social community, building the voice around it, because I felt that until and unless we organically let people come to terms with that they're dealing with mental health and they need to speak about it and they need to break the stigma, they will never be able to break the cycle. So in my mind, I was the professor and the audience was Shipra. Like my professor helped me
Right.
by letting me know that there is nothing wrong with me when I have depression. It's much like any other issue that we struggle with. How can the platform become the professor? How can we do things within the platform to break that stigma away? So it started very well with the social community. And I remember that we worked so hard and our content started reaching so many people, and
Really.
it reached more than 10 million plus people,
Wow.
and 500K plus people, 50,000 plus stories of real human beings like you and I who come forward and share what they're dealing with, how therapy is helping them, and all of that. So ePsyClinic was that seed which kind of led to the culmination of many more products, of which I speak now.
Mm-hmm.
So in my journey of ePsyClinic, I realized that text counseling, which is there, isn't just enough because we're dealing with disorders and we're dealing with issues, and we need to be outcomes focused. We need to provide the person with the recovery that they so need. So we need a more structured use of digital technologies to create a platform so that we are able to gauge or look at the outcome of what our therapy is doing, and how can we
Mm-hmm.
make it more programized, how can we make it more structured. So that was the genesis of iWill. iWill
Mm.
basically was the first structured therapy app. It's still human led, but it is structured, and it has, so it first analyzes you with clinically validated scales, and it's like a bot that analyzes. And if you have depression or anxiety or any other mental health issue, it gives you a proper structured plan that is pre-programmed, made with certain fine tunings for your specific case. And then you are assigned with the best therapist for you. And then you go through the program, and through the program, we continuously evaluate a person's recovery. And by the end, not only have they recovered, but they're also meeting some of their life goals that they wanted to meet. It could be going back to a job that they had left. It could be feeling good as a mother, and it
Mm-hmm.
could be just getting out of a toxic relationship. It could be feeling empowered as a retired senior. It could be any goal, but just helping them
Wow.
achieve that while also removing the illness. While with this platform, Manisha, we were dealing very well with the urban population. We were scaling really well. Again, the problem remained that we're reaching more people, but then we're still dependent on that very limited supply of the therapists that we have in this country. So
Right.
that's when technology kind of took a level deeper. And if you have any follow-up question, then I can talk about the current platforms that we've further built, and I think which are making the right kind of impact and noise in the industry.
Oh, Shipra, I have loads of questions,
Yes.
but I'm actually going to go back to uh,
Yeah.
taking a look at your platform and its
Yeah.
uniqueness in comparison to anything out there. Is there anything else out there of this nature? And what makes you unique in terms of tech?
Yes. There are many platforms now, and that's a good thing because, much like healthcare, we have so many hospitals to choose from, we have so many facilities to choose from. For mental health, it should be no different. You should have democratic access to healthcare as a consumer. So that's a great thing for the industry. We have a lot of platforms, and many of them are great. Our platforms, I will talk about the work that we're doing in AI, and we've done in AI in a bit. So one thing is that we are very rooted in both serving and solving for rural and urban population. So we
Mm-hmm.
are not catering to a very specific group. We're not catering to urban corporate clients. We're catering to that rural farmer who was about to take his life, or was considering or wondering what to do with his life, or a rural woman who isn't literate, who wants to do something with her life, or a child who has had some, difficulties with their sexual agency, with,
Mm-hmm.
the challenges that they've faced in a very rural setting. Or it could be a CEO, it could be a star, it could be anyone. So we're dealing with whole bunch of everybody basically. It's the cosmos who needs mental health, and so your platform has to cater to everyone. And so you need a lot of data, a lot of understanding of your different community demographics, and to serve them all. So in that we are unique. And also,
Mm-hmm.
we have been very fortunate, Manisha, to have had the opportunity to work with several governments and work on the grassroots. So we worked with the government of Maharashtra, we worked with the government of Haryana, we worked with Karnataka, Mandya, we worked with Cuddalore, Tamil Nadu, we worked with Delhi, we worked with Central
Excellent.
Health Education Bureau, and we've been there in the villages, in the rural areas, in the cities. I think that is the uniqueness. And to the AI part now. So when I realized, Manisha, that we still will have to create a very superior AI solution. And this kind of makes us stand quite apart. Um, we need to bring an AI solution that is not only effective, but
Mm-hmm.
responsible and sounds humane. Now, we want the first AI platform. There are many AI platforms that have been there for healthcare, but they follow a very structured protocol usually, and they lack the humane rapport that is needed. Our platform, which is called iWill Gita, and the name Gita is for a reason, because
Yeah.
it's inspired by ethos of Lord Krishna. But its acronym for Generative AI Inclusive Therapy Assistant is world's first controlled generative AI human therapy assistant in Hindi. So,
Mm-hmm.
this was backed and supported by Microsoft. They renewed the funding just 3 days ago for the
Oh,
project.
congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
To first it, and it does both things really well. So it's structured. It takes you to the right treatment protocol through the sessions, but then it has generative AI. We fine-tuned, created our own models. So it sounds like you're talking to a real therapist on chat at the right places. And then
Mm-hmm.
it's built with a lot of systems to ensure that it fails, which means that if there is self-harm, that if there is anything that's of higher pecking order, which the AI shouldn't be dealing with, it flags it and it brings human in the loop in the system
Wow.
itself. And
Okay.
that's the beauty of it. And it's available on web. It can, so we don't need apps for it. It's developed for low internet bandwidth. So we don't need a very heavy Wi-Fi to use it. So it can be
Wow.
used on a rural person's phone or anyone else. And it's 1/5 of the cost of the current mental health models that we have. So
Wow. Okay. All
that's
right.
the
So
beauty of
like you
the
said,
product.
I have tons of questions
Yes,
that I'm gonna I
yes,
have to make sure I remember all of them. But what I'm going to do is I want to actually look at the a broad spectrum of mental health in
yes,
India at the moment, and then come back to
yes,
specific questions.
yes.
Um, in mental health in general in India or in the subcontinent, have we seen an increase in and of people on the mental health spectrum, or is it just reporting that has increased? So, is there an increase in actual numbers, or is it just reporting that's increased? And if so, why? And is
Hmm.
my sub question is mental health related to affluence and privilege, or is this something you have kind of targeted this already, but I'm going to still ask it, or is this something that afflicts all rungs of society? Tell us more, a little bit more, Shipra.
Those are two very brilliant questions, Manisha. Thank you for asking them. These are important. To the first question, it's both actually. Both the reporting is getting better, and that's because we have more agency to speak about it. We're not judged anymore, and corporations and organizations and people and friends and family are taking that effort to understand
Right,
if you're dealing with something wrong, and the person themselves has agency to speak about it. So,
right.
yes, the reporting has gone up, definitely, but so have the issues, Manisha. Look at our lives. If you look at post-COVID or during COVID scenario, it hasn't gone at all easy on people,
Mm,
specifically young adults. Those who were in school or colleges, that's the time you want to be out with your friends. That's the time you want to socialize with everyone around. You want to be meeting your friends in person. That's the time you develop your social skill, that your ability to connect one on one with people, and to be dumped into your isolated corners. They basically lost that opportunity
mm-hmm,
to develop that kind of social skill, or miss out on some parts of that social skill. That's not working too well with our youth population at all. I've seen a lot of mental health issues cropping up in the ages of right from 10 years old. That's the worst part of it. That's the scary part of it. Well, depression used to happen in very young kids earlier as well, but now that's so much in numbers.
wow.
I can quote without taking someone's direct reference. There was a little child, 10-year-old, questioning the meaning of his or her life, right? And those are the questions that make you scared, right? It's a
Mm-hmm,
10-year-old. They
mm-hmm,
should not be thinking about these things at that age. So that has had an impact. And also because
right.
Now there is a good side to digital technologies. I work in technology and I advocate for good use of technology, but there is
Yeah,
a dark side to it as well. That
for
is that
sure.
we are restricted ourselves into frames and reels and only that. If it was one part of our life, great. But for many, it has become only that. And with that, you lose touch with that humaneness, with that reality. And sometimes you
Yeah,
feel like you're in a box. Now, if you look at my Instagram profile, you'll see me either in a religious ceremony, getting awards, getting my work done. You don't see me crying. And so if somebody is visiting my profile, they're like, oh my God, she has the perfect life. Nobody knows my mother just had a fatal incident 2 months ago. Nobody knows that me and my father just had COVID and what
yes,
happened to me the last year. Nobody knows that because I would rather not put that pain out there. So that's
yes,
why when people look at these profiles, they feel their lives are less than ideal. And I'm guilty of feeling that way too sometimes. So
yeah.
that has added to the mental health, difficulty quotient level going up. And also,
Hmm.
if you look at the economic divide increasing. Now, post COVID created a lot of good opportunities for many people, but it was a very tough time for a lot of people who are at the lower stratas of the society. While I give full marks and credit to the government, they're working really hard to bring the livelihood standards of people. But it's still a 1.4 billion population in India, and
Hmm.
almost now up to 8 billion population we will be globally.
Right.
Surely people affected socio-economically, and that
Yes.
of course takes toll when you don't have money to make your ends meet. And
Hmm.
trust me, in COVID times, I felt the heat too, running a business. So those issues, and then so many other
So
relationships. I mean,
many.
you name. Yes, so the numbers are going up and it's a staggering number. I can quote one number the WHO kind of looked at. So during
Right.
COVID, 60% plus people of us had some form of mental health issue. They did, of course,
Mhm.
they did a sample of survey, so which was representative of the larger group, which is unprecedented, which means not the silent, it's a major majority, right?
Yeah.
It's 60%. And it could be higher. It could be higher.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Thank you for that. Um, and as I mentioned,
And
yes, sorry,
yes,
Shipra.
the second
Second
question,
part.
the societal.
Yes.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
No, it doesn't differentiate, Manisha. It just affects everyone. It affects everyone. I think that you could be, people think, oh, billionaires' lives are perfect, or that CEO's life is perfect. Or you could think a farmer living in a village must have a very simple life and they must not have these stressors. Not true. All of us deal with our own, we are all, so no matter what level we are at, we are trying to get up from there emotionally, spiritually, mentally, in
Right.
a relation. And if that somehow is, restricted, we are bound to feel mentally the pain. So no, it equally runs in all fractions of
All.
society, and it affects each one of us. And maybe the coping mechanisms may be different, maybe the awareness levels may be different, maybe people in rural settings still don't know what they're going through, and that's why it's very important to touch those pockets so that the stigma
Hmm.
is removed, so that the humane within them is seen and they're not seen as the odd one out. But
Uh-huh.
no, it's all of us.
Thank you. Um, is there other issues that afflict us on the subcontinent that we don't really see elsewhere in the globe, as in the subcontinent, as in Bangladesh, Pakistan, India, Sri Lanka? Basically, yes, looking at our side of the world that are special to us and that we don't really see on the global front.
Yeah. So there could be, so mental health disease or disorders could be same, but the situations causing them can be pretty different. And some of the ones that come to my mind when I talk about our particular subcontinent, students are under extreme pressure to do very well.
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
Usually, I've not seen that trend, that kind of pressure. And we put that pressure right to the top, which means that even if you have done a good job, even if you have a startup, we never really relentlessly stop, comparing ourselves as families, individuals. And that pickiness is very unfortunate at times because I know so many men within the Indian subcontinent, or people who are, Indians, maybe living in other parts of the world, if they're not earning that well, they are cut off from their own families, for the ones who are making better money. And that's such a bad way to look at families, right? That's such a bad way of
Right.
experiencing. And they may be told things on face, they may be compared, and that's not good for anyone. For women, I can say that they deal, domestic violence is everywhere, but sometimes in India, and I don't, I have no difficulty in admitting that sometimes the fact that we have a generational trauma, women are coming out and working, it's not always easy. They are dealing with a lot of pressure to be the best mother, to be the best wife, to be the best daughter-in-law, to somehow
Yes.
still be the best daughter, and then
Yes.
also perform at work. And if she falters at work, oh, you should have hired a man. That's why we say men are better. And if she falters at home, we say, oh, after all, she's a woman. And it's very sad. It's very sad.
Right.
And there is a lot of support. I have a lot of support, but not every female is that fortunate. And
Mm-hmm.
that is why through iWill have seen many such unique issues of women who are so talented, so good, but then they are dealing with domestic violence, they're dealing with all sorts of pressures. Nobody even listens to them. When they say the story, they're the bad ones. They are,
Mm-hmm.
the problem. And that's something very unfortunate, I
Mm-hmm.
know that
Mm-hmm.
in West is no perfect place to
Oh,
look
far
at,
from.
but we are introspecting ourselves, and so that's
Mm-hmm.
there. Also,
Mm-hmm.
I think isolation is increasing,
Oh, really?
specifically senior men, Manisha, because senior women may still have their spiritual groups, may still have the grandkids
Mm-hmm.
to look
Mm-hmm.
after. For senior men, unfortunately, there was a survey done, are very ignored in homes.
Oh, really?
Usually, the family starts supporting the mother more, and
Oh,
the
dear.
father is now back in home and doesn't have that kind of family support. He wasn't that social, anyways. He was always
Right.
working really hard, at least that generation. Now we have very many women working, and we don't have that statistic that's skewed towards just men, but at that time it was largely men. So they feel
Right.
very out of place. And when they feel that, they usually are brushed away as, okay, this person is lost, himself or whatever. And that's very unkind at times. So, yeah, that's also something
Wow.
that's there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for highlighting that, Shipra. And moving to how or why you believe it was essential to have one of your platforms in Hindi. I only know about the Hindi one. Have we changed to multilingual? So tell us
Yes.
more on that front, the relevance of keeping it into a language or keeping it as a language that is accessible by many, and has it turned multilingual yet? Go ahead, Shipra.
So we have two AI platforms. One is iWill Geeta that I spoke about, and one is iWill Raksha, which is a
Ah,
reproductive agency knowledge and support health assistant. It deals with reproductive health issues, sexual agency challenges that young men and women face, but also helping couples plan for pregnancy, because 49.1% pregnancies in India are still unplanned, putting
really?
mothers at, yes, unfortunately, putting mothers at grave risk of health issues and complications. So planning is like, they don't know that they've gotten a child. Later they discover they're anemic, they have other problems. And now they are in that, mode of solving the problems. And sometimes if they're in
Right.
rural India, that's not even there. So we created these two platforms. Raksha is both in English and in Hindi. Geeta is in Hindi, now coming in English. Geeta is very complex because it's a treatment, it's a mental health treatment. So it's very complex in terms of the back end side of it. So it takes time to replicate it into a different language. We're bringing it in Hindi for English. First, why we brought it in Hindi? 615 million users speak Hindi. And we are and that population is ignored. And if we have to go to
Yeah.
rural, we have to go multilingual, and
Yeah.
we have to start with Hindi, the one which is spoken the most in India. And of
Uh-huh.
course, we will be all languages eventually of India. And if God gives us the, and if the energy remains in the dream, I'm sure that, there are so many things involved. We'd like to cover other countries and other languages as well, because that's the good thing with AI. It's pretty scalable. It's pretty, it's pretty moldable to different cultures and communities with more data. But yes, lots of plans for bringing it in on other languages. Hindi first, because 615 million users coming from Bharat, coming from India, had to be Hindi to start with. And of course, then we're thinking of adding Tamil, Telugu, Bengali, Marathi, Kannada, every language that, it makes Gujarati, that makes in Marathi, that makes India the country that it is.
Wonderful. Shipra, there is a huge English and Hindi speaking Desi population across the globe. Is what you do accessible to somebody like me over here, 10,000 miles away?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great. Wonderful. I'm so glad. And moving on to all the awards and accolades that you've received recently. So I'm going to name one that I came across. Top 75 ideas globally. Okay, and this was recognized by Shri Narendra Modi. Wow, bravo. Okay, so tell us more about what your recent achievements have been. Why not? We're going to highlight that. So let's talk about your achievements and how has this exposure maybe opened doors for you? Tell us more.
So this award was for sustainability, and there was Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi had called for the best ideas that can impact sustainability, so that we have a safer climate, we have carbon footprint reduction. And since I am a technology person, so my idea was on how can we use AI to build systems so that you and I, people like you and I, at the home level, can reduce our electricity consumption by 18% and without affecting our day-to-day lives. And also how we can move to more. So there are two kinds of sources that fuel our power: carbonized sources and decarbonized. So
Yes.
if you know when the sources are decarbonized and when and what to do, and if you have that information, and if AI can guide you through that, you will be using more of that energy. And this could be brought very simply to a user in an app format, and the AI is doing the back end work behind, and every citizen can make an impact. And together, that's an impact of trillions of dollars. And that's an impact of so many millions of trees, like, I mean, if you put that in perspective, like how much will that electricity consumption saving help, and how much of moving it to decarbonized fuel would help. So it was an AI solution to that, and we were amongst the top 6 of the top 75. And that was such a proud moment. I think that's one of the projects I definitely will work on. You would hear more about it very soon. Like I said, I'm a dreamer. I don't know where my dreams take me, and I'm a learner. I'm learning with your, sessions as well. So maybe you find me doing something that someone, is doing, and maybe collaborating with you. So yes, but that was so close to me. That was very close to me because it had relevance, and coming from the man that we all idealize so much, and the force, it was definitely the biggest honor.
Lovely, lovely, and aptly and completely deserved. And Shipra, moving to something that I actually wanted to ask before I forget, which is related to privacy. Okay, so going back to, especially on the mental health platforms, okay, how do you ensure privacy, and how essential is that knowledge that what you're sharing on your platforms is kept private? Tell us a little bit more about your privacy policies.
Yes, that's a beautiful question. So even the AI that we built on, the data that we used was completely anonymized. Any PHI, which is public, which is personal health information, wasn't part of it at all. That's a big part of actually cleaning, labeling the data, and ensuring that you are dealing with just what you need, which is thoughts and emotions, and not the person, to build the model. So we were very careful in designing it. When you actually use the platform, only you can retrieve your data, not even the system has access to it. and we've ensured that it's encrypted end to end. Even when you're speaking to a therapist, our technology is peer to peer, which means that it's between you and your therapist. We don't mine that data as a platform. We don't do that. That's sad. Some companies also sell some data to third party. Not necessarily. I'm not like
Mm-hmm.
specifically names, or I don't even know what those names will be. But there are reports that does happen globally. No, so we don't
Mm-hmm.
do that. We have a very strict policy towards it, and that's because if they can't trust us, then
Mm-hmm.
um, we have no business to be in this business, right? And
Thank you.
but with that, if somebody really wants to come out and say and be open and share their story, we give them the platform. So it's their consent that sometimes people really want to talk about, that I have come out of this mental health condition. I want to use your platform to reach a wider audience. I want to write a blog. I want to speak my story. I want to come on your live.
Mm-hmm.
And if they want to do that, then we give them that platform. So it's their choice. And our
Mm-hmm.
systems support that we never overstep. And we also don't fall back if they want us to be their voice.
Beautiful. Thank you. And Shipra, last but not least, and before I say goodbye to you, what would you like to see manifest in the near future? What would you like to see happen on a larger scale or personally?
On a larger scale, I really feel that as humanity, we need to come together. I really feel that at a human level, we all feel similar things, no matter where we are. We don't need to feel we are losing out in the race. We don't need to feel that, life, that we are falling short on life. I see so many of us struggling with that constant feeling. And so I manifest that we can see the beauty of being human, of being just here and witnessing each other's journey and getting inspired from it, as opposed to, being threatened. And I think it happens mostly by comparison of others. So if that could stop, I think we would be, if we can be inspired, we all will be better, in our mind, and we'd be able to do better. And I also want to see our, climate health taking a little
Mm.
priority, actually a lot more, because if we
Mm-hmm.
don't have this, and I love the work that's happening in space. I love the fact that we could someday be, a multi-planetary species. So the work there is lovely, but with that, preserving Earth is super important. So the work around that. And personally,
Uh-huh.
my goals really, Manisha, would be, how can I continue to advance my dreams through science and spirituality? And that's how I define. I don't know where the life will take me, but
Mm-hmm.
whatever I want to do, if I am happy at the end of the day that I've done something which has helped the planet, helped people in one way or the other, even if that sometimes comes at the expense of who I am, I will sleep a good night. So I manifest that power to continue to dream and not give up, because of course I've been through failures, and the failures shouldn't deter the dreamer within me.
Oh, Shipra, beautiful, beautiful. And I want to just tell you that your impact has been immense, directly and indirectly. All right. You have no idea how far you have already reached in touching lives across the planet. And I can't wait for you to see. I mean, I can't wait to see how far you impact in the near future. So with that, Shipra, I'm going to wish you all the very, very, very best. And thank you for sharing your time and space with us today over here on Impact Duty.
Thank you so much, Manisha. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for the work that you do. And thank you for being you, the champion of good work, the champion of good voices. What you do actually manifests the first thing that I said, that is to bring more positivity to the world. And you're doing just that. Thank you for being you.
Thank you, Shipra. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. Bye bye.